Redditors who have met a former crush years later. How did it turn out? My wife's former crush randomly messaged her on Facebook one day. She ate him on day 2. She's now my ex-wife. She's jobless living with his mom. And I have the kids. Edit. It would figure that this is my most upvoted post. My kids are 5 and 3 so they don't understand it much, but I'm hoping for the long game when they realize which parent was really there for them. My son still says hurtful things at times like I don't want to live with you anymore. I want to live with mommy when he's angry. Thank you everyone for making my week. I really needed to smile. It's my son's first week in kindergarten and dealing with her through the process has been hell. Found out she was fat and unattractive. Then I realized I was too. One of the most realistic replies. Ran into my high school crush because we were both on the same plane and seated across the aisle from each other. She's a lesbian now. We talked every day in high school for 3 years. 20 years later she didn't remember me. It seems that the girls I was chasing in high school. If I see them now it's like, I don't see what the big deal was. And then the girls I wasn't chasing, but in retrospect should have been, are all insanely gorgeous. Funny. Smart. If I had a time machine I'd go back and punch 15-year-old me right in the beanbag. Idiot. I hear ya. I was too cool for band so I tried to do sports. I sucked. Meanwhile all the band girls were being finger blasted on the bus rides home while I was awkwardly missing layups on the basketball court. Last time I saw her when I was 12. I was 35 when I did some research on the internet and found her. I sent her a letter saying hi and was curious on how she was doing. Gave my email address and cell phone number. 3 weeks went by and get a message through Facebook from her saying, I'm fine. Married with twin boys. Don't contact me again. 6 months go by and my parents get a phone call from a guy saying he's her ex-husband and wanted to talk to me. I call him from a friend's cell phone. He tells me that she's in a marriage with an extremely controlling husband and I should be careful. I thank him for letting me know and hang up. I've stayed away ever since. Had a crush on this really pretty girl that was in my study hall. And I always tried to steal glances and check her out and all that. But I would never have dared to ask her out. Anyway. About a year ago I got a text from a number I didn't know. And started talking to them. Surprise surprise. It was her. She told me she used to write poems about me in study hall. He always said, I want to be a cop. I'll never be a firefighter. Firefighters are pussies. Cops are the real men. He became an army firefighter. But instead of being humbled he's still a total douche. Firefighters are fucking homos. Went out for drinks. Still fixated on her. Was given a chance. Got wasted and embarrassed myself by spending so much of the night talking about how much my younger self liked her. Extolling her virtues like it was years ago. Mentioned how crazy and awesome it was that I was finally getting my chance. It was sad as I didn't realize how bad I had up until I sobered up. Woke up and immediately knew I would not be given a second opportunity. Saw her reactions and responses from the previous night with a sober eye. Realized the massive amount of I'm going to be polite. But I've made a mistake that was continuously written across her face. Embarrassing as I'm cringing with you. Edit. It. I'm not changing it. When I was in first year I had the stupidest little girl crush on this guy in my program. And I had no idea how to express it. So I think I thoroughly creeped him out with my staring and pathetic attempts to get him to have coffee with me and such. Anyway. That was 8 years ago and I've really matured as a person since then. I hadn't even thought of him in years when I ran into him. I was actually excited to find out he worked at a store I was planning to go to. I thought I can finally have a normal conversation with crush. He'll see I'm not a creepy weirdo anymore. Anyway. When I ran into him our conversation went like this. Me. Hey, crush. How's it going? Him. Good thanks. How are you? Me. Good thanks. How are you? And then it just spiraled into awkwardness from there. Guess some people just bring it out of me. Had drinks. Went back to her hotel. Basically did not leave it for 2 days. Netflix marathon? I felt puzzled that I had ever had a crush on him. Said hi and moved on. We started a small thing when we were around 17 years old. Didn't work out cause she was spoiled and I was pretty heartless asshole. Fast forward a few relationships for us both, 11 years of growth, and she came back into my life a few months ago. We're dating and life is pretty good now, couldn't ask for anything more. Sometimes it's the right person but the wrong time. Let's see. Met her when I was 13. We totally crushed. Fast forward to when we're both 23. He has a kid from a previous marriage. But it didn't bother me. Got married. She cheated. Tried to take me for child support for her daughter. 2/10 would not recommend. I liked her when we were 15 but she wasn't nice to me. I ran into her when we were 23 and she looked so old I didn't recognize her. When she realized I didn't recognize her, she began to cry and ran to the bathroom. Never saw her again. Update. Thanks for all the questions. I had rather sad answers to most of you. 1. We definitely weren't at Taco Bell, aka the Aphrodite of fast foods. 2. I'm confident she wasn't a faceless man who was accidentally named by her friend. You should check if she's okay in the bathroom. People slip in there sometimes. Edit. Got my first gold. Thank you. I'm sorta currently going through something like this. Dated 2 years ago. She went through a rough patch and I was young and stupid, so she slammed the door on me. We added each other to Facebook and met recently. It was outstanding. We had really great time and went to her place. I don't know where it goes from now. Gotta be patient and receptive, I guess. I came out of a house party too and she was between 2 parked cars outside blowing 2 guys. I drunkenly cheered her on, then took her on the house. Tried to pull an ultimatum on me in high school. Do this or we're over. I called her bluff and that's how our relationship ended. 10ish years later we're both single and I visit her on a lark. Turns out she's sleeping with a divorced man and trying to get him to abandon his wife and daughter. Yeah. Also her apartment was absolutely filthy. I mean, I'm no prize but I've tried to ruin exactly 0 families. She works at a supermarket near me. I said hi one time and have since avoided using it because I'm not the best with repeated social interaction. Edit. Thanks for all the helpful tips guys. But I avoid her because I don't want to do the hey what's up, how you doing fake an interest in their life interaction. Really? I feel you. She didn't recognize me. Or maybe pretended not to. Who knows? Either way felt pretty. Hadn't seen her in 15 years. Ran into each other online. Decided to meet up for dinner. Married now for 5 years and 1 kid. Dinner at Taco Bell? We've been dating nearly a year. He was my sister's best friend and I crushed on him from 2nd grade to 10th. I am high-fiving the hell out of my childhood self now. Most amazing relationship I've ever had. She was in my class back in kindergarten. In my class again in 3rd grade. Showed her my boxers and she was now my girlfriend. Then I discovered she cheated on me with my best friend. I saw him showing her his underwear. Needless to say I've moved on from that event in my life. But if you are out there Olivia or Matt. This comment is weird if you imagine OP as the teacher. Got Thai food. Hung out. Caught up. Pretty chill. Still her brains out but I don't think she's into it. Crushed hard and competed for a really cute girl in college but when she moved in with him I closed the door on things. Years later she sought me out on Facebook as apparently for her. I was the one that got away. It led to a tour on again. Off again. Mostly S or tryst in which we determined the things we did best were fighting or effing, which we cycled through quarterly until about a 4-year break due to mutual animosity. We made up. Had an amazing year. And broke up again in a heart-wrenching explosion that stings to this day. Super. We originally met my freshman year of high school. His senior year. 3 years later. We met again. I still had a crush. We became really good friends. Then started dating after I graduated. We are now married and have been for over 2 years. With a trip to the clinic. We dated very briefly in college. I was absolutely smitten, but it only lasted a few weeks before he decided he wanted to explore his options and many other ladies vaginas. 7 years later we bumped into each other at a bar, both having coincidentally moved to the same city. I had just gone through a bad breakup and he convinced me to let him tend to both my broken heart and my lady garden with some story about how he had harbored feelings for me all of those years. Turns out all he had harbored was genital warts. Had a crush on her all through freshman and sophomore year. She kissed me at the end of sophomore year. I failed to reciprocate. Basically ran away from her. Extreme social anxiety. I switched schools after disappearing for the summer, not because of the kiss. But when school started again I walked to her school every day for half of the year in hopes of having the balls to make a move. Saw her each day. Failed each day. She obviously got tired of waiting. Ended up with another guy. I gave up. Come end of senior year she shows up at my school to see some guy. Saw me. Literally jumped into my arms and forced her phone number on me. Together 7 years come November. I proposed to her around a week ago. Edit. Thank you for the gold, you amazing person. Edit 2. For those who have asked. She said yes. Though the proposal was more of a discussion of the ring I am trying to have made for her. Social awkwardness FTW. Will likely be buried forever, but what the hell? Had a crush on this girl in grade school, 1st second. Playdates. Video games. Action figures. Life was good. Bought her a present at a 5 and 10 because I thought she'd like it. It was a ring. She was ultra embarrassed and ran off. My parents still have not let me forget that. She changed schools, for other reasons, that next year. Fast forward 14 years. Graduated from undergrad. Working for a company in my hometown and working on getting accepted to medical school. Out for drinks one night with friends and who should come by but her? Beautiful. Great taste in music. Smiles at my jokes. Smitten. Fast forward several more years. Gave her a ring again. She did not run away. Happily married several years. Saw her at the 10-year HS reunion. She was a bit heavier than she'd been in HS. But still attractive. She was there with her Ivy League fiancé registered sign. These two facts combined to change my mindset from I wanna bang my HS crush at our reunion to oh well. Never mind. At one point. We were being recognized for something. And with all eyes on us. She leaned over and said, I remember what a crush you had on me. You wanted me bad. First, I couldn't really react. Given the immediate circumstances. Second, I didn't detect any kind of Taco Bell type invitation in what she'd said, sorry. In fact, it almost seemed like she was just lording it over me. I mean, she was there with her fiancé registered sign. Who? We determined in previous small talk. She luoed in who was awesome. For some reason. It really ed me off. I just gave her a blank look. Shrugged. And walked away. To this day. I wish I'd had some kind of witty comeback. But that's about my only regret. Haven't seen her since. But I hope she's happy. And blah. 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 Turns out she's a crystal healing. Vaccination hating wingnut. Then I dodge a bullet. Good. Went to an underground rave and then my wife and I tag teamed her. She comes to our holiday gatherings now. Well, that turned out very nicely for you. Good. We had tacos. Then did oral stuff in my car behind Tackable and haven't spoken since. Interesting marketing strategy from Tackable. This is what people keep referencing. We're married now. Had mega crush in high school. Finally contacted him 6 years later since I knew him back then, and we haven't been apart since. Now we have been together for 4 years. Married for 1 and have a baby on the way. Dreams really do come true, I don't care how cheesy that sounds. Had a crush on the high school QB. And his family was royalty in my school. It was a very small town that worshipped football, and his family had been players going back 4 generations or something like that. But in terms of popularity, this guy wasn't just out of my league. He was out of my stratosphere. Fast forward 10 years. I'm newly single and he looks me up on the book. Flirting plus admitting I had a huge crush on him, and school equals date. Effing score for me. Yeah? Yeah. No. I get to his place and he's living in a 300 square foot box. Still driving that 89 pickup from HS. Talking about how he was king. Still caught up in being worshipped in school and clearly couldn't grasp why the real world didn't do the same. Can you believe? Reddit. That he actually had to prove himself. The goddamn nerve of his boss. Ate dinner. The man did grill 1 hell of a steak. And noped out. We had awesome sex and never talked to each other again. It ruled. Married. Been together for 8 years now. 2 kids. And pretty dang well. I think. The girl I had a huge crush on in high school was way out of my league back then. But I ran into her about 5 years after graduation and we ended up going out a few times. Sex was incredible. But she was dull. Nothing there beyond her being really hot and great in bed that would make me want to have a serious relationship. So nothing ever came of it. Last I heard, she's been in a happy relationship with a good guy for about 4 years now. Which is really nice to know. Reconnected with the one that got away. We were in the beginning of a relationship in high school, about 17, and she moved unexpectedly. Was devastated, but through chance, mutual friend, reconnected with her. We were 23 or so. First day seeing each other was great for the both of us and it seemed like we were connecting beautifully. Hooked up, whispered sweet nothings and had some great sex. Then reality set in and we took a road trip together. Where she became a crazy bitch. She seemed to have a prescription pill addiction, which was likely the source. The takeaway is that we generally remember the things we want to about people, and I always thought about meeting her again. We did try to reconnect one last time, but she went full psycho. She called or texted me about a year or so ago. We reconnected probably 3 years ago. Wasn't going to deal with her again and was glad I deleted her number. Edit. This thread is the reason I'm glad I asked my crush out and found out it was horrible. I had a crush on the daughter of my mom's friend when I was about 10 years. We would hang out a lot. Sometimes all night when our moms were working together at the coat check of the restaurant my dad valeted for. She was definitely my first big crush. But I was a shy, awkward kid. I remember one of the last times we hung out. I gave her my favorite Lion King trading card because I like her. After our moms got new jobs, we didn't see each other anymore. The next time I saw her was when we were 18. She was really different, and even though she was still really cute, I didn't feel the same way about her. We talked for a bit and caught up. She showed me pictures of her son. Apparently she had gotten pregnant when she was 17 and had a beautiful baby boy that her mom looked after so she could finish school. It was a nice experience. Especially finding out what she had been up to all those years. Well, she got hotter. And I leveled off. Still wouldn't suck my willy. Whoa. That went meter fast. She got fat and turned into an annoying stoner. Not met. But my high school crush did pop up on Facebook a few years ago. Seeing that her profile pic at the time was her and Sarah Palin. Seemingly posted unironically. Tells me I dodged a bullet. Had a huge crush on her when we worked as waiters together. We both moved away for about 6 years. Then ended up back in the same place we met. Randomly, I remember she looked so stunning. We kept in some slight contact over those 6 years through social networks and emails. but didn't see each other. About 2 months after we met again, we started going out. Neither of us planned on it, but we fell in love. Moved in together after about 6 months. And I got down on one knee in Yosemite about a year after that. We got married just over 2 years ago and it was the best day of my life. Thank you to everyone who helped legalize gay marriage. Not that its illegality would have kept us apart. I'm downvoting any and all mentions of Taco Bell after. Like. The first 10. Edit. Stop. I won. Removed. Had a crush on this girl all throughout high school. But we both had significant others during that time period. So nothing ever happened. Fast forward to my senior year of college. Happened to run into her in my college town. I had just broken up with my girlfriend at the time. And my crush from high school was coming onto me so hard. She was still really cool. And even better looking than I remember. The last thing I remember is brushing my teeth in just my boxers at her place. Woke up the next day still in my boxers. She was shirtless. She informed me that she was ready to go. But we did not have any of the sex. Did not have morning sex either. It was a sad day for my pecker. I had a semi-crush on her when she babysat me. Many years, and wet dreams. Later we are dating and things are going pretty smooth. Enough with the I'm Taco Bell. When I last saw this crush, it was when I was 17 years old. It was a sunny day on a trip to a cool hidden camping spot in the wood near my hometown. Little did I know I would lost sight of my crush that day when the group suddenly left because it started raining. About 10 years later I went to the camping spot. And this is when I got reunited with my old crush. It was flat but the orange taste was still there. It was all degasified. But deep down I knew my crush was still worth it. Good, we've been dating for almost a year now. He was my crush back in junior high. He didn't even know me. He was in the French stream. I was in English. We connected over 10 years later on Tinder. He asked what my spirit animal was. And I said Iggy Azalea and that was that. I wasn't all that interested in him when we went out. But for some reason it worked out. I didn't tell him until our 5th date that I already knew him from before. He looks like a taller version of what he did back then. It's a little weird. She was the hottest girl in our high school and everyone wanted some. I was 120 pounds and prepubescent. 4 years go by and I decide to look her up. She gained about 120 pounds of fat just around the time I gained 60 pounds of muscle. Over 4 years, I felt like I had missed out on an opportunity when I was younger, but whatever. 4 more years go by and I run into her at a bar. Neither of us recognize each other as she had lost all the weight she gained and I had grown from a boy to a man in our time apart. We eventually start talking and realize what's going on. About 10 minutes into the convo she leans over and says, "You do realize you are going home with me tonight?" We go back to her place so that I can finally cross her name off my list after waiting 8 years and 2 Jenny Craig cycles. I end up busting in under him and then proceed to pass out. Ran into her some years later in our mid-20s at a New Year's party. We both were just recently single and started to click. Eventually we both confessed to a mutual crush in high school. Then as the night went on and beer flowed, she jerked off 2 random guys in the living room. Edit. Holy karma. Oh. Back in Russia I went to a music school with this kid. I was 14 and he was probably 16 or so. He played the drums on a godly level, or so I thought at 13. Had jet black hair and eyes. And I was obsessed with him to the point of stalking him after school. 20 years later, I am into tall blonde men with blue eyes. Found his pic, he is now bald. Kinda chunky. And still short. Ah. Aryans. She found me on Facebook. She was getting a divorce and had just moved back to town. Ended up sleeping with her for a few months as a FWB situation and even had an all-nighter with her and her best friend once. Eventually we went our separate ways without any negative emotions involved. We'd fooled around previously, but she hit me up out of the blue asking to hang out. She was way hotter than before. We banged. After not seeing her in several years, I ran into her in a grocery store. I was feeling like $1 million, dressed in a nice suit on my way to some family gathering, and stopped in to get a soda. She was working the register, looking 10 years older than she was, had 3 kids, and was fighting for child support from 2 of the fathers. We got married last year. Said hi and moved on. Feelings were gone. This just happened to me last Saturday. Met her at an anime convention of all places. Haven't seen her in 6 years. Totally lost touch with her since she didn't have Facebook or a cell phone at the time. It was quite surprising since she is the only girl I ever truly loved. We talked for a few minutes that day. We gave each other our contact info so we could stay in touch now. I said to her what I felt at the time. She said she felt the same as well. I was just too much of a PSSY at the time to confess. I'll call her maybe next week to hang out. It looks like she's in a relationship. Doesn't mean we can't be friends and lose one of the most amazing person I ever met in my life.